Hungarian Grand Prix is over and the World Championship is over. Max Verstappen wins in Hungary, and I'm going to say it now. Max Verstappen is your 2022 World Drivers Champion. And you guys may be wondering to yourselves, why am I saying that with a whole other half a season to go? And it's because of this race today, and it's because of what Ferrari did strategy-wise. That's the reason why Max Verstappen is going to be your World Drivers Champion. So let's get on into the race recap for the Hungarian Grand Prix. So let's go back to the beginning of the race. George Russell starting on pole in Hungary. What a great qualifying lap from him yesterday. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc were just right behind him, and George Russell gets off to a great start, was able to hold off Carlos Sainz and Leclerc off at the beginning. Eventually, Leclerc shows to be the faster car, and so he gets by Carlos Sainz and starts chasing down George Russell. Now, throughout this race, there were some varying strategies. So the Mercedes of George Russell started on the soft tires, whereas Ferrari started on the medium compound tires. And it just, you could tell that there was something wrong with Ferrari today. I can't quite put my finger on it, besides strategy, obviously. That was, I think, the biggest killer today. But it just didn't seem like they had the speed as, you know, after the first round of pit stops, George Russell was still able to get into the lead and stay ahead of Charles Leclerc. But all throughout this race, Max Verstappen was just slowly creeping back into things. Now, before the race, they did, in both Red Bulls, they did make one change to their power unit. Now, they didn't get penalties for it because they stayed within the limitations of what is allowed with how many engine parts you're able to use during the season. So they made a change last night, and then going into today, that change obviously made a lot of differences. Both Sergio and Max were able to make up places. They were able to start making passes. They looked a lot faster today. And again, we said this last week in France, but we've got to say it again. Mattia Binotto and Ferrari, I just don't understand what their strategy calls are throughout the weekend. So first you had them start on the mediums, then you had, after the first stop, you had them on another set of mediums. So then Leclerc gets into the lead, gets past George Russell, and he looks like he's going to start pulling away, and then Max Verstappen makes a pit stop, and you're trying to cover off both Max and Lewis, and you know, they seem to be the faster cars there for a while. But Ferrari then puts Charles Leclerc on the hard compound tires. Now, if you were watching this race, the hard compound tire was an absolute garbage tire, as even Martin Brundle said throughout the broadcast. You had the Haas's go on to hard. You had the Alpines go on to hard. You had the Alfa Romeos go on to hard, and they were slow as hell. And then Ferrari inexcusably puts Charles Leclerc on the hard tire, and then you put Carlos Sainz on the soft tire and made him go another 20-some-odd laps on that soft tire. I just don't get it. And with the fact that Ferrari is not going to get rid of Mattia Binotto anytime soon, that's why I'm saying that Max Verstappen is your World Drivers Champion this year. Yes, Mercedes may be able to pull some points back, but Max, even if he finishes second throughout the season, I just don't see Ferrari being able to chase down Red Bull this year for either the World Drivers Champion or the Constructors Championship. It's not going to happen with these crap strategy calls. And Mattia Binotto, heading into this summer break, Ferrari has got to do some thinking these next 3 weeks. Like, do we need to continue with Mattia Binotto as our, lead strategist and, the head of Ferrari? Or is it time to, basically bring in some new blood into this team and, maybe get a spark going that, maybe the second half of the season Ferrari's able to, make some kind of comeback. But I mean, until that happens, it's Max Verstappen's world, and we're all just living it. So going to the end of the race, and it was really all throughout the race, we heard the threats of, oh, there's rain coming, it could sprinkle, it could rain. It never materialized until the virtual safety car comes out with about 2 laps to go when Valtteri Bottas' engine lets go. He has to pull off to the side of the track. And finally, we start to, it starts to come down harder as George Russell on his radio talks about how the rain starts coming down harder. And you could tell it was affecting Max Verstappen because he was tiptoeing around the circuit, but Lewis Hamilton on those soft compound tires was starting to make up time. And I don't know, had you had another lap to go, I mean, there's a very good possibility that Lewis could have been able to pull enough of a gap that he could have gotten past Max Verstappen. But, Max was able to tiptoe around the whole last lap and the last couple of corners, was able to finish first and get another victory this season and extend his championship lead even more. So we'll cover the championship standings at the very end of this video. Now it's time to get into the race results from the Hungarian Grand Prix. So obviously you had Max Verstappen finishing first, Lewis Hamilton second, George Russell third, and I'm going to say it now, Mercedes is back. Mercedes has gotten this car back up to the top of the standings and is really going to start maybe putting in a fight against Red Bull, definitely against Ferrari. Mercedes is definitely back, as Mercedes has another 2-3 and gets 2 podium positions again this week. You had Carlos Sainz finishing 4th, Sergio Perez finishing 5th. It was a very quiet and just a very underwhelming weekend for Sergio Perez this week. I don't know if it's just, maybe going into the midsummer break blues, maybe. I don't know what it is, but Sergio Perez, just another silent day. But he does finish 5th today, so that was a great comeback race for him as well. Charles Leclerc in 6th place. I mean, it's one kick in the groin after the other for Charles Leclerc. I mean, from just crap strategy calls the last 2 weeks that have really cost his championship hopes. It is so disheartening. You had Lando Norris finishing 7th. He had a really great qualifying session yesterday. Just wasn't able to turn it into a really good, decent haul of points. You can definitely tell that, yes, over 1 lap pace, maybe the McLaren was a good car, but over race pace, it was absolutely nowhere today. You had Fernando Alonso finishing 8th, Esteban Ocon 9th, and then the last points paying position goes to Sebastian Vettel in 10th place. I'm not going to lie, there at the very end, it kind of looked like that was a little bit of a planned move there for Sebastian as Lance Stroll kind of moved out of the way when I don't know if he necessarily needed to. But then going down, you had Lance Stroll finishing 11th, Pierre Gasly 12th. You had Guan Yu Zhou finish 13th. Really good race for him. Didn't make up too many positions, but again, a lot of these teams went to hard tires on their first pit stop, and you could tell that the hard tires just weren't getting the cars anywhere, and I think it really hampered a lot of these guys throughout the race. And you saw a lot of the teams that went to the hard tire, they switched off of them towards the second. I would say the 2/3 of the way through, they started getting off of those hard tires. Then you had Mick Schumacher finishing 14th. Very quiet race from him. 15th, you had Daniel Ricciardo. He actually finished 13th on track, but he had a 5-second penalty for causing a collision with Lance Stroll earlier in the race, so he drops down 2 spots, down to the 15th spot. Kevin Magnussen finishes in 16th. Another race where, damage gets caused to his vehicle. They give him the black and orange flag, the mechanical issue that you need to get fixed. They gave him another black and orange flag, and I think that really ruined his race right there, because then they tried to go to the hards, seeing if they can make it to the end of the race, but that strategy was never going to work. Then you have Alexander Albon, Nicholas Latifi, and Yuki Tsunoda bringing up the finishers for the race. And then obviously Valtteri Bottas had to retire with engine issues. So that was, that's one of those hurtful things for Valtteri. He was having a really good race today, was in that fight for that 10th and final points paying position. And now it's time to take a look at the championship standings. Obviously, Max Verstappen is leading this championship with 258 points. Charles Leclerc is still in second, but is now 80 points behind. Like 80 points. That's going to be a tough task to ask Charles Leclerc to make up almost 80 points going into the second half of the season. I'm not saying it can't be done, but this is going to be a tall order for Charles Leclerc. Then you have Sergio Perez in third place with 173 points. He's only 5 points behind Charles Leclerc and could very easily pass him, if Charles Leclerc has another bad race coming out of the summer break. Then you have George Russell in fourth place with 158 points. Carlos Sainz drops behind George Russell with the way the race ran today. Carlos Sainz is on 156 points, so he's only 2 points behind. So it's definitely doable. That's going to be a great fight. Is really the top six is, not including Max Verstappen. Top six is going to be a really great fight to go through the rest of the season. Because then you have Lewis Hamilton in sixth with 146 points, but two really good races in a row for Lewis Hamilton, getting him, right back into this top six championship hunt. Anything could happen, and you could see drastic changes within the points that maybe bring Lewis Hamilton back into a second place position. Then you have Lando Norris in seventh, 76 points, basically best of the rest right now. Esteban Ocon in eighth with 58 points. Now looking at the Constructors' Championship, obviously Red Bull leading the way, 431 points over Ferrari at 334 points. It's almost a 100-point lead, and with the way that Max Verstappen is going and the way that Max and Sergio have just, been able to pull out results when absolutely needed, 100 points is going to be a big ask for Ferrari to come back from, and if you're not going to sack Mattia Binotto, I just don't see this happening. Then obviously you have Mercedes in third at 304 points, which now they're only 30 points behind Ferrari. You could definitely see a switch at the 2 and 3 position, and you could see Mercedes passing Ferrari if you keep seeing these results from Ferrari like we've seen just over the last 2 weeks. Then you have Alpine and Renault in fourth. You have McLaren, Mercedes in fifth. Alfa Romeo in sixth. Seventh is still Haas Ferrari. Thank God. I'm praying they can at least hold on to seventh. Then you have eighth AlphaTauri, ninth Aston Martin, and 10th obviously Williams bringing up the rear. But guys, what did you think of the Hungarian Grand Prix? I'm not gonna lie. Strategy calls made this race a little bit more interesting. I'd probably rate it on the 2 to 3 star scale though, because we consider this the Monaco without barriers, and we already get a boring race at Monaco, and it except for the strategy calls today that kind of brought this to be a little bit more of a race, it got kind of boring at points. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, guys. Also, slap a like on this video for more daily and weekly Formula One content as we head into the Formula One summer break. We've got 3 weeks where we're not getting any Formula One racing, so we're going to be doing reaction videos. I'm going to be doing a Formula One for Beginners video, so you'll want to pay attention for that as well. So, guys, you gotta subscribe to my channel and turn that notification bell on so you can get that notification when new Formula One videos come out on my channel. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for subscribing. And for the American F1 fan, I'm Eric Ringgold, signing off.